Hey there, my name is Pravus. Welcome back to more Terra Invicta. We are playing as the Resistance. I just saw a small opportunity. The United Kingdom, interestingly enough, is controlled by the servants, but their executive branch is currently cracked down. I kind of feel like there's a chance that I could try to steal this and actually swap the United Kingdom over to my side. Fun fact about the United Kingdom, all of their regions are actually claimed by the European Union. So technically speaking, we could try to break off all their alliances and declare war and force these guys to rejoin, or I could very peaceably try to get the United Kingdom to rejoin the European Union that they left and eventually integrate them into the superstate. Denying access to the nukes and the armies for the servants would be a very, very painful loss for them. So even if I don't hold on to the United Kingdom, I think this is a good opportunity to kind of screw with them. At the very least, I'll disarm their army, I'll probably disarm their nukes, and if we hold on to it, great. If we don't, well, okay. The only downside to this is by displacing the servants in a place where I know they're currently kind of situated, they're going to free up a bunch of their control points to try and find something else. They might end up taking something I really don't want them to take. As long as it's not China or India, I don't feel too bad about whatever they can do. I control most of the important stuff. They already control Russia, so it can't get much worse than that. I still think this is going to be the right decision. So we're going to do a crackdown over here, or rather a purge, and see if we can steal the Prime Minister slot. In the meantime, most of my stations are looking really good. We are waiting for a lot of stuff to get built up on Mercury right now. We're gonna find that our mission control is going to skyrocket, and we're gonna have a bit of an economic woe for a while, but eventually the nanofactories are gonna result in me starting to make a lot of money. Our biggest issue is actually gonna be keeping track of our water and volatiles, because unfortunately I was not as aggressive as I kind of wish I had been on the moon. I kind of wish I had snagged more of these sites, even if there was not much for me to do with it, just so I could have denied a lot of these resources from the enemy, like all the water over here, or over here, for example. But at least we do have a base getting built up on Ceres and the ability to build a lot more, so I think we'll still be able to make it work. One thing that will help stretch out my water and volatiles is if I eventually start researching the farms technology. We can place those on stations, and what it basically does is it's going to reduce the upkeep for a lot of those stations, so I think maybe it's space agriculture that we need over here, hydroponic space and so on. Yeah, I think maybe. So if we can get that sucker built up, then hopefully we're going to find ourselves in a better position to make these resources last longer, which means I can set up even more stations. And speaking of which, another thing I want to do is to set up some more orbital stations around Earth. We are in the process of researching Tier 2 research centers. I would like to have a station dedicated to each research type to get myself up to the maximum value of 50%. Or rather, it's not a maximum value, but you start getting some pretty nasty diminishing returns once you get up to that value. I'd also really like to make my investment points go a bit further. So that's going to be a high priority for this episode. The United States and places, by the way, are looking great. I mean, we're about to get down toward low inequality. We're making 850 science in the US, already jumping up to 500 in the EU. Yeah, we're looking pretty good, I'd say. There's the Space Science Research Center. That's going to be one of the first ones I build up. Getting a lot more space science bonuses are going to be nice. This one is not even really all that expensive, but what it does is it gets me an extra bonus to my mission control investments, which just means, you know, less stations necessary on Mercury to kind of hit up a mission control cap. We could start working on things like the Hydra language. I like that idea. But I might also want to just go ahead and get some upgraded stations. I think we've got the two that I'm looking for there. Social sciences will be a very nice thing to get at some point as well. And this is only going to take 1,000 science. I do want to get the research campus. This is only worth straight up science points. It's not worth a bonus. However, 100 science is a hefty bonus. They actually buffed this recently. I think it used to be 50 science, and now it's 100. So you build a full tier 2 station of these, plus like a farm or something in order to manage this. You build it over Mercury, for example. You can probably fit like 6, 7, maybe even 8 of these things. That's an entire new EU or United States adding into my research pool. That's massive. So I absolutely plan on building these. I just need more mission control, and I just need to have my income, volatiles, and so on under control. Oh, actually, I can't do the purging in London I wanted to. I forgot. If you want to get the executive branch, you have to first control one of the other points here. So, shy of initiating a crackdown here that's successful, which is not likely at all. Okay. Maybe we can't take the UK. Well, that's a shame. It is something I still think I could force through eventually, and it's definitely something I want to do, but alright, we'll say that's not a priority. For now, let's just go ahead and continue building up some support down here in Mexico, because I do plan on stealing this away from the initiative. Settlement Mining Complex. Now, that's an important tech. That is a Tier 2 upgrade for our existing mining outposts. So if I have enough mission control to spare, and I feel like I can start setting up Tier 2 stations on Mars in particular, but also Mercury, this gets me an extra bonus to resources. I think it's a 50% boost to your resources generated. It's not very cost-effective in terms of mission control, but since I can only have so many spots or sites on Mars or wherever else it's going to be, getting extra value out of those could be better overall. Let's go ahead and launch another orbital around Earth, probably in low Earth orbit 2 again. So that's 7 out of 8 sites that have been claimed. We'll go over here, and then we can start planning out one of our first research stations. We do, of course, still need to get things like some solar arrays. 42 power is pretty good. I think that what we can do is have like 4 or 5 of these solar arrays. So let's say one here, down over here. It doesn't really matter where you place them, by the way. This is just to look nice. We can do that. And then if we want to leave a spot open for a farm, I think that could be wise. We could eventually also add in some space and just leave it for like some defenses, so that if the aliens ever decide to attack, we can try to fight back at least a little bit. I do want to get the Information Science Research Center up and a-running, not only for all of the knowledge priority, but to just get as much of a bonus toward this as possible, because we're working on quantum encryption, and that is currently taking a very, very long time. The Space Science Research Center would be another good option for us. So let's try placing some of these down and see how many I can fit in our current power setup. So that's going to be 3, 4, 5 we can do. Okay. Can we do a 6th? Actually, yes. Hold on. If I want to do a 6th, but then I'll bet you I run out of power for things like farms. But I could always add another array down over here if necessary. Is this overkill? It might be overkill. But I'm going to do it anyway. Let's go for 6. I'm going to leave these spots open because I think we're going to put other things here, like farms, to reduce some of the costs. This is going to be a pretty massive boost to my information science in general on Earth. And on Ceres, we have completed our construction module. Okay. So now, on our existing base, or in other bases, we can start getting some upgrades over here really, really quick. Ceres does have 1 site remaining. I could grab it. I don't have the mission control right now, though, so that's a small issue, but I would like to grab this. What could I do to make that work? I could shut down an orbital on Earth that is very small and otherwise not producing a lot of value. I really want that water, so I think it's worth doing something like that. Let me see what I can shut down. Maybe something we don't care about too much on Luna. That could be an option for us. We're just getting a tiny bit of volatiles out of this. What if I just, for example, temporarily shut down this? That gets me the one that I would need, I think, to make that work. So let's go to Ceres, go here, and I'm going to go ahead and found an outpost. Not a settlement, can't afford that. But we're going to go ahead and grab this before anyone else can, and it's only going to take me 30 days to build. Oh, a coup in Russia. Humanity First was able to kick them out. That's huge. Okay. This could be an opportunity for me run in. I mean, I actually have a surprising amount of support in Russia, despite the fact that I've done nothing to earn it. Huh. Steal away 30 nukes. How much does it cost? It costs about 60 points in total to fully control this. I'm not sure I'm quite in a position to do anything about that. What I might do is keep an eye on this, and if I see the servants running back in, crack them down to encourage Humanity First to grab this. Because if there's any other group I would rather have Russia, it's probably going to be Humanity First. I mean, yes, they're fanatics, they're radical, but at least they're radicals on my side. I mean, I'd even rather prefer this go to someone a bit more neutral, like maybe the Academy or Project Exodus. But if it's going to go to somebody else who's going to use the nukes, I want them to use the nukes against the aliens, not for them. So this might be an opportunity to help Humanity First grab control of Russia. The first of some new skunk works are coming available. Okay, and that means that a new research is automatically starting. Audience research? That's not exactly what I might have had in mind. What does that do? No, forget that. That's nonsense. What else do we want? You know what? Let's go ahead and just get started on the Hydra language. It's something we need to do. We need to find out how to talk to them to know how to interrogate them. Might as well get started. So the Academy ended up taking over Russia. Interesting. China and Russia. Just like that, the Academy finds himself being a pretty serious militaristic powerhouse. Huh. Now, China still doesn't have at least 2/5 of their army with navy, so they don't have quite the global reach they might like. Russia, I don't think, has a massive global army either. So it's kind of limited to Eurasia. Nonetheless, that's quite the power play for them. I wonder where the servants are going to end up going. Op centers are starting to come online, and just like that, we see that our mission control is, in fact, going up. We're also seeing that we're starting to drain a little bit of money. That's fine. I think it's come, what is it, October, November? That's when all the nano factories are going to come online as well. So this should more or less even out. As long as we've got the volatiles and water and other materials we need, like nobles and base metals, we'll be fine. Gosh dang, I am getting so many negative events in space this particular episode. I think I've had like 8. I'm not even kidding. Cascading failures on HABs, lots of HAB unrest, ice quakes. What the heck is going on here? And a successful coup in Mexico gets me all 3 points. And actually, I am just barely under my cap, which is perfect. Critical success. Oh my god, we rolled a 0. Ha! That's amazing. I mean, I didn't need it, but that's amazing anyway. Okay. So, 2029, by the way, and I am up to 90-some science per day right now. I'm at 400 cap. I feel like we're doing pretty good. I mean, I don't know what the exact pacing is of this game, and that's a hard thing to kind of judge. It's actually the number one complaint that people have with this game is the pacing feels very slow, like you're not accomplishing much. And yet, all these little months of work really do matter. You need to start getting that snowball going. I feel like our economy and our science are trucking along at a really good rate. I feel like we're going to start getting a lot more control here pretty soon. I feel like we've got a really good strategic set of control of nations. Like, everything seems to be going well. Am I crazy here, or am I doing well? So what are we going to do with Mexico? Well, few things. First off, we need to get their unity back up at least a bit. Probably should deal with the welfare and the economy a bit. I certainly don't care about military investments or spoils or funding or boost. I do, however, care a lot about more mission control, so that's going to be a high priority, then probably welfare. Yeah, this seems kind of okay. Remember, the entire long-term plan here is not to keep Mexico, it is to integrate it into a new North American nation. The more mission control I have set up before we do that, the more benefit I'm overall going to get, because at the end of the day, this economy is kind of peanuts compared to the United States. Most of these stats are going to kind of bring down the average of the US only a very small amount, whereas mission control is always going to be useful. This is why the European Union has 34 mission control, because it started as all these small independent nations getting their own nation control up and running, then I integrated, and look how good we're doing. So I basically want to do the exact same thing in the US area. That's what we're doing with Mexico, and it's what we've been doing with Canada as well. Okay, we finally got to finish one of the global techs. That's taken me a little while to get to work, because other people were doing stuff. So let's go for that space agriculture, get things like the hydroponics bay set up and running. I don't know exactly where the farm is. Maybe we can research it here and find out. No, see, and this is where the search is not always helpful. I think it's space agriculture. I definitely feel like this is at least one of the steps. So we're gonna go ahead and research that next. Something I've started doing just in the interest of being mean, by the way, I am actively sabotaging the research for some groups, such as the Protectorate and the Servants in particular. So whenever I see they're working on some sort of a big project that has made a lot of progress and might be important to them, I just say, nope, you're not allowed to have that anymore. For example, do I want these guys to appease the invaders? Absolutely not. So say goodbye to your project, start over, Protectorate. Since we do have a lot more mission control to work with, we need to continue setting up more stations and just start really ramping things up. This should be the period of pretty much exponential growth on a few things for me. I'm going to found a new orbital, I think, in space here in low Mercury orbit. Plan with this one is going to be to set up a new research campus station. So for that, let's see, the research campus I should have access to somewhere. There you are. This takes 30 power. So if I can get, like, let's say a couple of solar arrays, we can do that. That'll get me more than enough power, I think, to set up a bunch of these. I will leave behind at least one space to set up a farm, just because that's going to greatly reduce the upkeep, because these do take a lot of waters and volatiles. In fact, I might even want to have 2 farms in order to boost this down. How many people work here? A full 100? Yikes. We might need more farms than that. Let's just start with this, see how this goes, and if it's looking ridiculous, we'll have just wasted a few resources. We'll shut these down, and we'll try again. Can I note, by the way, that one of these stations we finished building up with all of these information science boosts is now getting me a 60% boost here to our information tech. Now, it doesn't translate into that much, obviously, because as I said, above 50%, you're going to find yourself getting diminishing returns. Nonetheless, even though that was a very expensive investment, we're getting a 74% research boost on our quantum encryption. With only one of these points assigned here, one priority level, we're getting 15 per day. Contrast that with carbon nanotubes, where I have very little bonus right now, and it's a pretty night and day difference. So we'll get this tech done a lot faster. This is very, very, very helpful. I'm also getting a nice 69% bonus toward investments for knowledge. Now, I think we've capped that out. I'm pretty sure we can't go any higher than what we've already done. I don't remember the exact number. It's something like you can get 30% from halves, and that's it. So we hit that value a while ago. No real change here, unfortunately. The only way to get more knowledge investment is through things like organizations. Whoa, nuclear tests in Iran. Uh-oh. Okay. Right, well, Iran does start with, or Iran, I guess, does start off with some sort of a, progress boost toward nuclear weapons. They're, like, already most of the way completed, so honestly, I'm surprised it's taken this long to get to this point. But yeah, that's humanity first getting a nuke. What scares me about that is I'm pretty sure a bunch of people have just declared war on Iran, including, Russia. So, depending on how the Academy and Humanity First are feeling, there's a non-zero chance we're about to see our first nuke go off, and that would obviously not be great. Whoa! Project Exodus just cooed me out of Mexico. Well, heck, I didn't expect them to be able to pull that off, considering I had the vast majority of public opinion, but I guess I did not manage to reduce unrest fast enough. Huh. Alright, you want to play that game? We can play that game. I'm gonna get that back. Ah, first round of nanofactories is being built. Okay, so we just went from the negative cash up into positive. We were minus 6 per day up to now positive 6 per day. So that's a $12 per day swing just from having a handful of these nanofactories set up. That is going to be pretty massive for me, and we plan on setting up a whole lot more of these things. Here come a whole bunch more nanofactories. Oh yeah, a lot of them. Now we're making some cash. All right. Yep, this is working. Now, here's a nasty little thing you gotta worry about. You can't use up too much of the mission control. Remember how I was saying that eventually the aliens start getting really angry? Yeah, so doing a lot of reading on Reddit and the forums and everywhere else, it seems that the general consensus is at the very beginning of the game, you don't really want to go above 80 or 85 mission control. Anything above that, and every action you take against the aliens, like assassinating one of their alien buddies or something like that, is probably going to lead to some alien retaliation, which can be very, very, very painful. So, generally you want to stick below 85. That means we need to be very careful where we are spending our mission control and be deliberate about getting the best value possible. Quantum encryption tech. Okay, finally, that's done. What do we want to work on next? That is a great question. I'm started working on the Unity movements, heading toward that Great Nations. It's going to be a while, but I mean, I feel like we might as well make some progress toward that. I'm also researching diamondoids, which leads to some pretty darn good armor for your ships. Fairly lightweight, pretty effective, though another good alternative was the carbon nanotube armor, which I've already got access to. We could start working towards some fusion. And that might be a good way to replace my fission tech that I'm using for power on Mars and several other locations. Fusion produces more power, but I think it's a little bit more expensive as well. We could just become really good at fission by going for molten core instead. But I don't know. I kind of like the idea of moving toward fusion. It sounds kind of fun. So maybe we do that. What about the molecular assemblers? That looks pretty good, but yeah, I think we're going to go for inertial confinement fusion and start building that up. Now, one fun thing about going for a lot of these power techs is you start increasing the globes, so all of Earth's, nuclear fission or fusion tech rating, the entire planet. And when you do that, you help buffer the world against the energy crisis that in part will start with things like, oh, I don't know, climate change. So getting this up can be quite nice to kind of stabilize things back on Earth. This doesn't get me a fusion level yet, but eventually will. So do we want to do that for 35,000 science? It's a lot. Let's go ahead and start working on fusion tech. I think it's time. There's my coup in Mexico. That is mine! Mine, Exodus! You stay away! North America will never be anyone else's. Mine forever. Research hubs are coming online now. Hello! Now we're getting a lot of extra science per day. That just jumped by like 30 per day right there. That is huge. Okay, so we're getting 56 per day from nations, 32 from habs. Yeah, this was like a 50% boost right there to my science. Huge. Very, very nice. And that's not even all of them. I could build more of this if I want to. And since science is so gosh dang important in this game, I am sorely tempted. A coup in India just took place. Oh boy. Looks to me like the servants have decided they're going to go for a new location, since they've lost Russia. Yeah, that's like the one place I really didn't want them to go, that in China. So, if this is where they're going, yeah, not a lot that I can easily do about it. At least they don't have a lot of nukes. The thing about India is, if built correctly, they can end up becoming a powerhouse. But this particular India doesn't look very strong, so it's going to take a long time before the servants get enough benefit from that I'm going to be scared. The important thing is we now have covert operations, which means I finally get my next advisor, or counselor, or whatever. You get the idea. So let's recruit somebody. Now, who do I want? Great question. I am having increasing trouble keeping control of all of my nations. We're kind of spread a little bit too thin to continue doing public relations campaigns. So at some point soon, we need to consolidate more of my nations into small groups. I might even have to surrender Kazakhstan at some point. It's just proving too difficult to hold on to. This gets easier once I merge the US with Mexico and Canada. It would be really nice to have somebody who'd be a very good advisor for the EU, just to get even more value out of it, or we're gonna need somebody else who's good at things like espionage, investigation, and command, so I can do even more hostile actions against other people. A spy would be interesting. We should also keep in mind that having advisors from different nations can be helpful. It gives me access to more organizations, so we don't necessarily want to double up on, let's say, India. Even if this character is really good as a celebrity, probably not what I'm looking for. Russia, this character would be interesting. A hacker from Russia, investigation, espionage, crackdown. No sign of purges and stuff, though, which is a bit annoying, but with the right thing, low profile and furtive. Espionage. Not very loyal, or potentially not very loyal. Ugh. Yeah, let me think about this. I'm gonna be honest, out of all of this, I kind of feel like this officer from Indonesia is kind of our best bet. It's not what I was going for, but somebody else who can do investigation, espionage, and so on. I mean, this character is going to have a lot of extra governing cap that comes with them. Quite a good array of skills across the board here. Government's already affluent as meh. Pollyanna's nice. It means their loyalty is pretty much always going to be maxed out. Refuses to go into space, but that's kind of okay. And then has some extra security. As far as the missions, the coup d'etat is kind of one of the ones I need, but I need to find a way to get this character more missions. I would love to have somebody else who's good at detaining, yeah. Yeah, what I may do with this character is try to boost up investigation and command as much as possible. Unless there's someone else that's better, but to be honest, I don't like any of the other options here. I feel like this is kind of my only option, and I don't love it, but it'll be probably kind of okay. So you're going to be joining the team then. Welcome aboard. That bumps me up to 433 for my command cap, but of course it's going to get even better. I just have to go ahead and assign a whole bunch of organizations. And a nuclear attack is underway. All right, I warned this might happen. Iran is launching the first ever nuclear attack in the modern era. All right, well, great. That right for there, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be the nukage. Might see a nuclear winter over Earth now, which is not great. You know what's really annoying to me? I know I have access to the farm tech, but I just can't get it to unlock for free. It's ridiculous. I'm going for the autonomous research groups, which gives me like an extra 10% chance of getting such things as the extra, engineering projects. So hopefully that's going to boost things up, or at least make it so I don't have to wait as much in between researching a new technology. But still. Oh, what do I want to sabotage here? Great question. How about we go ahead and sabotage your patrol vessels? No servants. No into space for you. We should be learning how to speak the Hydra language right about now. All right, it's going to take some time to fully comprehend the weirdness behind these guys, but we have managed to put together some sort of syntaxed and functional speech. So now we are able to communicate with our Hydra prisoner, who's been with us for a few months at this point. The linguists have compiled enough data to establish a sort of Rosetta Stone. We've got it within about 70 to 80% accurate. That's still pretty good, I suppose. There might be some subtleties lost, but at least we get a bit of details. So now we have to actually interrogate our enemy, which is going to pop up another project over here at some point. Okay. Still no sign of the farms, by the way. I'm getting a little bit peeved about that right about now, but okay, we'll find a way to make do. Everything else is coming along. I'm trying to research not only some additional science buildings to just keep ramping things up, but also get some of the stuff I'm going to need to build some defensive ships. Because once we have interrogated our Hydra prisoner, I think that the next stage of our quest will probably involve shooting down an enemy ship, which you can imagine is gonna make them really, really, really freaking angry. And our threat level has already increased up to level 3, so we've got to be somewhat cautious about that. But you know what? We're doing pretty well. We've actually got a good amount of extra cap. What I'm gonna do next is probably get a coup in Poland and try to integrate this back into the European Union, or it actually has almost all the mission control it's able to. We might as well just take it over directly. And then we could take over some other small nations like Denmark or Sweden with the intention of starting to build their mission control up as well. Or we could say, screw it, let's just take some of these points and try to rob the servants of one of their more powerful nations like the UK. And I don't really think that that's going to be a bad idea. Not thrilled that they have pieces of India, but I also don't feel like I'm in a very good place to deal with that right now, so it's just going to be what it's going to be. Thank you all very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. If so, I would ask you hit that like button, leave a comment, subscribe, make sure you hit that notify bell, and I will see you guys next time.